usual thing. So pulling the abdominals in and the ribs, sinking those ribs back, pulling the ribs in, lovely. Feet hip distance, shoulders back and down, opening up wide in those collarbones. Lovely. And then exhale as you gently rotate your head to one side. No tension in that neck. Inhale and bring it back to the center. Exhale and to the other side. Inhale, back to the center. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, back to the center. And again, exhale. And inhale. We're going to drop the ear down to the shoulder this time, but leave this opposite shoulder from the head direction level. And just stretch the fingers down towards the floor of that hand. Just the opposite direction to where your head is going. And then bring the head up through the center, lengthening the back of that neck as you go. Continue to lengthen that neck as you drop the ear to the other shoulder and stretching the hands down. I've got a really bright light on me and I'm baking. I feel like I'm under a sun ray lamp. And then back up through the center. And again, exhale, dropping the ear to the shoulder. And up, lengthening that neck. And then dropping it down to the other side, stretching the fingers down. Lovely. And up. God, that feels tight. And then inhale as you shrug up. Exhale down. Inhale. So keep the rest of the body isolated. It's just the shoulders. Try not to allow the ribs to ping forward. Down. Keep pulling in the abdominals, scooping the tummy flat. And then while we're here, we can think about that pelvic floor as well. I know it makes a difference when I remember to do it. Pulling up the pelvic floor underneath, as if you want to stop yourself going to the loo. Got a very blurry person in the corner, but hopefully they can see me. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Focus. I'm going into curls now. We've done curls before, so I'm going to pull everything in flat. It's like somebody's pushing one of these large balls into my tummy and I'm having to curl around it. So get that same feeling. So pulling the abs in, the ribs in, exhaling and bringing the arms around as if you're curling around that big ball. And then inhale, come back. Keep the tummy pulled in and the ribs pulled in and just take the shoulder blades together and gently take the eye line up slightly. Don't break the neckline, just in line with your spine. And then exhale and back in. Inhale and extend. Lovely. Exhale and curl. Really pulling the abs in, the pelvic floor pulled up, the ribs tucked in. And inhale. Yeah. Exhale. Getting a little bit faster. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale one more and exhale. And inhale. Then we're going to do some windmills. So facing forward again. Inhale as you bring the arms up and then exhale as you flop them down. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale down. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale. Really trying to lift out of the waist as you reach up. Just allow them to flop. That's it. Two more. In. In. Fabulous. And then we're coming into our dial hands. I'll come a bit closer. So I've got the fingers splayed up on my knees. I can get down there. Shoulders are back and down. Bring the elbows to the start position into your sides. And then as you exhale, you think about the hands are mimicking what the shoulder blades are doing. You're keeping the shoulders back and down, but you're bringing those elbows up as much as you can. And then back down. Inhale, exhale. Think about those shoulder blades coming unstuck. I can literally, if shoulder blades are particularly tight, I have seen it where one stays there completely and the other one goes up. So See how far you can get that. So inhale. It's just pure, either being overtoned or you've got a little bit of a elevated first rib, or you're a bit tight. 2 more. Doesn't feel like it's doing much, possibly, but it will be. Marvellous. And then I'll come back to the centre. Have I'm going to come onto my knees, and I'm going to use my foam roller for an overhead shoulder mobility stretch, but you can use your band or anything else like that you've kind of got that is this shape. I'm going to sit on my heels. You can sit doing this cross-legged. You don't have to kneel up. You can stay kneeling up, kneel down, cross-legged. You can do this standing. It's the one we all know and love. So I'm pulling the abdominals in, the ribs in. I'm only turning sideways so you can see. Hopefully you can see. Oh no, I've got the plant in the way. Let's get away from the plant. That's it. And I've got this foam roller just above my head. And then I'm going to extend, see if I can take the foam roller behind, but leave my ribs tucked in. And then bend the elbows, bring the foam roller behind me. See, I'm not sticking the neck forward to accommodate that foam roller. So I'd like you to try and keep the back of your neck in line with your spine. And then push the foam roller up, and we'll bring it back down. And we go again. Exhale. Go behind the head. Keep the ribs in. Pull the tummy in. But don't allow the chin to come forward. Just go as low as you can if you can't get that foam roller directly behind you, or resistance band, whatever it is you're using. Just go as far as you can. If you're using a resistance band, it will be a little bit tougher because you're trying to maintain that resistance at the same time, but very, very good exercise. And down. And again, and over. Bringing everything in, flattening the ribs. Just realised I've got my top on all screwed up and inside out. One more. Behind the head, ribs in, tummy in. Good, leaving that here this time, if you can. So I'm bringing that behind the head. And from here, we're going to take a gentle spine rotation. Now, if you've got that foam roller at the back of your shoulders, keep your shoulders connected to it, and that will suddenly tell you exactly where the range of movement really is. It won't let you go any further. And then changing to the other side. Exhale as you gently rotate. So we can't move the hips easily because we're sitting on them. Inhale, and the foam roller is keeping your shoulders connected to it, so it's really difficult to cheat. So it's really good, this one, for doing a spine rotation. And you get the true measure of what we've got available to us as a spine rotation. Really nice exercise. If you're struggling to keep this foam roller there, you can put it under your chin and drape your wrists over, hold the ends, whichever's easier. Just getting some nice fluid movement going through the centre and back. Lovely. And then we're going to bring the foam roller out to the side and take a stretch, leaving the hips where they are, leading with that rib out to the side. And then bring it up to the ceiling. And then reach to the other side, leading with those ribs. Reach away. Get that lovely stretch. And inhale and exhale. Band is a good one. The band is a good one. It's tough because you're trying to maintain that distance and that resistance that whole time. You know what you look like? It's really funny. If I did this bit with faster, you'd be football fans. It's just so funny. It's on screen of waving gadgets and things. It's lovely. And extend. And then we're going to take that right the way round. So imagine you're coming out the shower and you're toweling off around the back of your neck. Bringing it back through, keeping that close all the way around. Keep the body still if you can, so that it becomes about the shoulders only. Taking that action around the shoulders. That full rotation action. Better with a band, probably this one. And then we're going to go back the other way. So keep the body still, keep the torso still, don't allow that to move. And keep all about that shoulder action. A lot of work in the shoulders there, just to keep them nicely rotated. Fabulous. Marvellous. And I'm going to place that down. And I'm going to come up to standing bridge because I do want to do some balance. Lovely. And some leg lifts as well to start working those hips. So I'm going to chop my head off, I know. But I need to come a little bit closer to you, I feel. Don't worry about the head, whether you don't sit. So hopefully that light is not going to play out too much. I'll shut those front curtains because I think that might make all the difference. That's better. I think that's better. Marvellous. Feet hip distance apart and find your centre. Pull your abdominals in, your ribs in. Shoulders back and down, lovely and wide across these collarbones. Now, can you keep that still as you then bring one leg up towards you and down? Change weight. And the other leg. And down. And change. Can you make that weight change barely noticeable? So that you need to lift out of your waist. And make sure that we don't take the body to the leg. Keep the body upright, pulling in the abdominals and the ribs. One leg now, so just the right leg, and down, and up, and down. 3, 4, 6. And then we're exhaling as we bring that leg up. Good, keep going. I know it's a lot. I want to start working this hip flexor here at the front of the hip, which I've come to realise lately is such an important muscle, getting us upstairs and all sorts, and changing sides. Left leg only, or whichever leg, the other leg to the one that you've just done. So working to contract this hip flexor, building strength for stair climbing, walking, any sort of climbing really, anything that involves steps, anything we have to lift that leg up. And 7, and 6, and 5, and 4. Keep the body upright, nearly there. 2, 1. We're going to the side, change legs. So we're going to go up, and 2, and 3. We're not going to do so many to the side. 4. I've got a little bit of clunking in there. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can just bring the leg a little bit lower if you want to. I suspect I'm just rubbing over a ligament. But if it's at all uncomfortable, as I say, just lower that range of movement. 2 more. That light is strong in my face. Changing sides, and up. And knee to the ceiling. Keeping the body upright, keeping that plumb line as central as you can. Should be feeling it in the front of that hip flexor and that psoas muscle now. Thinking, yes, is she going to stop? Is she actually going to stop? I am. 2 more. Oh, God, great, and shake your legs out. That is a good one. That's a really, I love that one. So from here, our balance is going to be a little bit of a weird one today. So lifting up nice and tall, out of that waist. Your standing leg, whichever leg you're choosing to start with, is going to be completely all the weight on the floor. So we're not on the outside of the foot, we're not on the pinky toe. The whole weight is even. And then push up, push the ground away, lift out of the waist. The other leg's coming up to hip height. And then I'm going to take that knee forward and I'm going to draw figures of 8 with that leg. It can be as high or low as you would like. You can hang on to something if you feel like you're just going to go. I'm on a double mat, so it's really spongy under the foot. So my foot is making all sorts of adjustment patterns to keep me stable, which is a good thing. I'm encouraging that. And you're just using that knee like a mixer, making a figure of 8 shape. But can you keep that torso as straight as possible? Just drawing with the knee this figure of 8 pattern. 2 more. Whoops, lost it at the end then. 1, and release. Oh, shake that standing leg out. And then changing sides, pressing the other leg down into the floor. You know what, I need a really good light in here because the light is changing with the sun and the clouds. Bringing that leg up to start, and you can just bring that foot closer to your knee. And then we're just going to use that knee. You see, I'm keeping the hips facing forward, so it's all going on underneath. Isolated. I'm turning the knee out here, rotating in the femur joint. Then I'm turning the pelvis in, the knee in rather, and I'm trying to keep the hips facing forward so that I'm really working that femur joint. It's actually an Argentine tango decoration as well. It's an exercise, but it's an Argentine tango decoration where you would do it really fast, but don't do that. Really fast. Lovely. And then just relax the leg, shake the other leg out. Good grief, that's, my legs are aching. Let me pop that down because we're going to go onto the mat and I want you to be able to see me. Now, so taking a roll down start at the back of your mat. I will chop my head off, I'll be with you again shortly. And then pulling in the abdominals, have that micro bend in your knees, remember, so that you're not actually working that. You can work the hamstrings, you can have those legs straight if you would like, but I want it to be about the spine here. So rolling down, tummy in, ribs in, one vertebrae at a time, allowing the arms and the head to hang heavy. Don't forget your abdominals and your glutes, your back muscles that is, need to be switched on the whole time. Your weight as you travel down should be even over your feet. Just notice if you're tending to travel down over one leg all the way down, or if you suddenly switch to the other side, there might be a reason why you're doing that. Try and keep that roll down even. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, use the abdominals to start coming up. Squeeze the glutes as well, so it's not hurting the lumbar spine. Unroll, tuck that tail under as soon as you can, because that encourages our spine mobility. And then rolling pin back up to standing. And then go again, rolling down, one vertebrae at a time. Slight micro bend in the knees, tummy switched on. Glutes switched on, keep going. I'm going to put my fan on because I'm baking. Up there. Push up. Keep rolling down. All the way down to the floor. We're going to find the mat this time. And we're going to come straight into our lunge. Oh, lovely. Now, I usually have this at a 90-degree angle, but you can, if you want an extra bit of an extra stretch, just caterpillar that foot forward slightly of 90 degrees. And then bring the hips level. So they're facing forward. You haven't got one turned out towards the leg you're kneeling on. Bring them back in line. And make sure you're not lifting up this hip. It's nice and level. Now lifting up in the upper body, nice and wide across that front. Tummy in, ribs in. We'll just take a gentle stretch forward. So the hip flexor, or the psoas muscle, at the front of that hip is the one that's just been clenching as we've been doing all those leg and knee lifts. So you'll probably feel that quite strong. So now we're stretching it back out. So now bring the tail underneath you. Think about that bottom, your bottom being like a digger. Scooping that tail underneath, bringing the pubic bone through to the front. And that will take that stretch up into the front of your hip. And by George, you'll probably feel it after doing all of that knee lifting. And then come back off that knee, changing legs. To the other side, lifting everything up, lift out of that waist, but don't lift the hip of the leg that's up. I'm going to caterpillar that leg forward because I want a tiny bit more stretch. And then I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to make sure this hip isn't turned out towards you. This hip needs to be forward as well. So that leg is parallel behind me on the floor. And once I've got that stretch in my quad and it's feeling a bit more comfortable, then I'm going to go into my tail tuck, get that scoopy forward bottom filling, pubic bone through in front of me, lifting up in the body. Lovely. Keep that tail tucked under and then change. Gorgeous. Nice. And from here we're going into our angry cat. So onto all fours. Have that micro bend in your elbow, so the inside of your elbow is like a pair of eyes looking at each other. Rotate the shoulders back and down, and then lifting the tummy and the ribs up into the rib cage. Flattening across that back. Inhale here, head in line with the spine. As you exhale, pull the abdominals in, and then rolling pin over the rib cage. As you curl up, as if somebody has just pushed that ball again under my tummy, and I'm having to accommodate it. Pushing the hands into the mat and the shins into the mat. Getting that lovely stretch in that spine. Just allow the head to drop down in line with the spine. And then bring back to a flat back. We're going to go into an extension this time, but I'm not going to let go of the tummy muscles or the rib cage as I now extend the spine. I'm not going to break the neckline either. I'm just taking that neckline in a pattern in line with my spine, as if it's like a long, smiley face. And then going again. Exhale as you bring the abdominals underneath, the ribs come under, and then I'm pushing up, just allowing that head to follow the spine line. Pushing into the mat with the hands and the shins and the tops of your feet. And then exhale, and then coming into your extension. Tail lights to the ceiling, tummy in, ribs in. Don't normally do this one because it's an extension, but I think it's actually really good to bend your spine this way as well. And then curling under. We do need to adopt some of the yoga stuff in, so get a bit more flexibility balance as well. And then extending the other way, tail lights to the ceiling. Inhale, exhale, coming back. Fabulous. Now push the hands into the ground, the shins and the tops of the feet. So you're really stretching that spine. Your elbows got that micro bend. Stay in that position with your spine as you sit back down onto your heels. Keep that resistance up, pulling the tummy in really strong. And the ribs in. And then back up. So you're like in a cat pounce mode. Keep that curl in that spine. I'm staying with my head down the whole time, still in that really angry cat arched position, as if I'm going to pounce. And I'm just coming back onto the heels, which is actually quite tricky to maintain that. And then sit onto the heels as well. One more. Exhale. And up, really pushing into that spine. Lovely. And then come into our flat back. I'm going to stretch the arm through now into our thread needle, reaching through with that hand, slowly controlling the descent with the other, leaving the hips facing forward and the thighs at 90 if you can. And getting that gorgeous shoulder stretch when you're down there. Lovely, feeling that shoulder peeling away from the spinal cord, releasing all of the trapped nerves, compressed nerves. And then coming back up, pushing your heel of your hand into that mat. Change sides. Keep the hips facing forward of the mat. Make sure you don't swing boat onto one hip, one leg. Reaching through, as if you're reaching your hand under the sofa, because you've seen something under there. Okay, I'm tight to this side. This is the side that I use. I'm right-handed, so this side is more toned and more tight. Fairly normal. Inhale, exhale, and then pressing back up onto the heel of that hand. We're going to do that one more each time, but we're going to add on a rotation when we come out of it. Deep joy, hate that one, but it's a good one. Exhale and coming through. And then pushing up with the heel of the hand. Keep that hand coming through. It's going to follow up your eye lines following the hand. And we're going to take that gentle spine rotation. Gosh, it is gentle this morning. Looking at that hand and then bringing it back down. Changing sides, reaching through. Reaching underneath that sofa. Fabulous. Lovely stretch. And then pushing up onto the heel of the hand. Following your hand with your eye line and opening up and rotating round to the side, looking at that hand, mightily awkward position, and then bring your hands back down to the floor. Right, lovely. We're going to go into now down dog. So just going to walk forward with a little bit of room behind me. You don't lose me behind the ladder barrel. Rotate those shoulders back and down, tucking those toes underneath. We'll start with cat hover. Inhale, exhale, and just lift those knees slightly off the floor, just about an inch. Very good. The back of the neck in line with the spine. We're holding for 5, 4, 3, tummy in, 4, and exhale, coming into down dog here. So find your position. I'd like you to bring your ears between your biceps. So start with your knees bent if that's tricky. If you're particularly supple, you'll find that easy. So we'll start with knees bent, ears between biceps here. Flattening that back and bring the neckline in line with your spine. Lovely. Shoulders are back and down, so they're strong. And then we can work on straightening those legs out and bringing the heels down to the floor. Don't worry if you can't get them completely straight and have a flat back. Just work towards what you can. And sending those heels down. And then I'm going back in through cat hover, briefly holding for a photo shoot. And then bringing the knees down. Coming back onto my heels and just releasing the wrists for a second. We are going to do that one more time, but if you've had enough of that one, that's fine. You can stay here and relax. Inhale, exhale, coming back, tucking those toes underneath you. And then pressing up into cat hover, not too high, flattening that back, tummy pulled up, lower ribs into the ribcage. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pushing into down dog. Bring the ears first by the biceps, flattening that back, neck in line with the spine, and then work to see if you can get the heels down towards the floor. Stretching in the calf, stretching the hamstring. Then we're going to walk the dog from here. So I'm going to bend one leg, keeping hips facing the floor, bringing the knee, one knee to the mat, and then back again. Now the crucial thing here is I'm not sinking in the hips. I'm keeping the hips level. So it's like somebody's holding me from the back of the jeans or something behind, keeping those hips in a vice-like grip. So they can't sort of settle into one particular hip. They're still lifted. And we're just bending one leg and sending the other heel down to the floor. I'm getting a little bit red in the face here. Ooh. So, it's because I'm trying to talk upside down. And then both back down to the floor, flattening that back. Come back through your cat hover and down. And then come off the hands and give your wrists a waggle if you would like to, in both directions. That'd be rather nice. I do love that series. It's a really nice series. And the hamstring stretch side of the down dog kills me. But I always feel a lot better when I then do another hamstring stretch later on in the class, and I suddenly realise that's done wonders, that particular exercise. So we're going to come onto our ball now. Have your ball. And we're going to do our balls under the bum. So nice easy one, starting with for the hip work. Bringing that ball under the pelvis. It's not actually balls under the bum, even though it's its nickname. It's ball under pelvis, really. It's ball under the bum would be too low, and you'd be shooting your ball out across the room. And we'll bring the knees over the chest. I think what I'll do, I'll be rude and have my back to you because you can see what my knees are doing. Because this is the one that needs a lot, you know, the coordination one. The rubbing the tummy and the head at the same time thing. So, I'm just bringing the knees over my chest now, completely floppy. Let those lower legs just be floppy on the back of your thighs. They're not extended. There should be no effort in this, completely floppy. Hold below the knees and then inhale, bring the knees in to your chin. And then as you exhale, all you're doing is extending your arms and your heels are still against your thighs. Well, might have come apart with gravity, but they're not being held out. And then inhale, bring the knees towards the chin. Exhale and extend the shoulders straight, the elbows straight. The shoulders, incidentally, should be connected to the floor the whole time. So it really is just about the elbow bend and the elbow straighten. But the challenge is you're on a ball, so can you keep your pelvis stable by pulling your tummy muscles in, engaging your core, and sinking your ribs closed and down towards the mat. On the next one, bringing the knees in, we're going to part the knees, leave the toes together, and draw circles out and away, leaving the shoulders on the floor. And exhale. Inhale, exhale. And you can see that both knees need to work together so that you don't wobble. And your tummy needs to hold you strong to give you that core stability on the ball. There'll be a natural bit of wobble, but you're trying to eliminate that as much as possible. We're going in the other direction now. Part the knees at the top, bring them in and away and in. And the other purpose of this exercise is to neutralize the spine. So if you really have a tendency, as I do, when you're standing, gardening, doing anything, just walking, shopping, you get a bit of a low backache, it's probably because you've just dropped into an arched back position. Really common. And it compresses the lumbar spine. This decompresses it, neutralizes it back out. Bring the knees together, going into a shearing action now. Keeping the shoulders on the floor, that's quite a challenge. Working a little bit of speed and challenging the core stability. So operating these knees like pistons and trying not to move the torso at the same time. Lovely. And then we're going into the complicated one from here. So I'll leave one forward, one back, and then they're both going to take circles. Lock. And the knees past each other. And they really have to work together here, the knees. I've got a clicky shoulder this morning. Interesting. Keeping that torso still on the body as much as you can. And then going in the other direction. Scraping past each other. Lovely. And then we can take the ball out from underneath. And then I'm going to move it onto my tummy and turn myself around. So I'm placing that ball on my tummy here. My lower abdominals now. I want to engage my lower abs. So shoulders are back and down, connected to the floor. I'm sinking the breastbone down to the floor. The whole rib cage is closed, lift doors, and sent back into that lift shaft. And that's where they're going to stay. And then I'm pulling in the abdominals, scooping them as flat as possible, even though they've got my breakfast in there about 10 minutes before I started. And I'm pulling the belly button to the spine. And I'm just going to press down gently because my bladder might be a bit full. And interlace my fingers over the top of that ball. I've got the legs parallel, feet flat, fairly close to my sit bones. And then I'm going to press down with the ball into my abdominals. And because I've got them switched on, I'm providing that kind of feedback loop. So I've got the resistance pushing back into that ball. So the pubic bone is just pushing the ball. And so I've got a tiny bit of pelvic, almost into a pelvic tilt, but not quite. From here, inhale. Keep the abdominals really switched on and those ribs flat. As you then extend your right leg in parallel along the floor. Don't let the abdominals go. As the leg extends, if you want to get that leg straight from here, because it might stay stuck, squeeze that glute, I'm using the right leg, so I'm going to squeeze the right butt cheek, so I can extend that leg. That allows me to. It's a bit of a squeeze, I've got it all going on there. Then flex the foot and bring that heel back into your tailbone. And then we're going to change sides, so refocus, find that abdominal connection. And then send the other leg long. Keep the abdominals really strong, shoulders back and down, ribs home. And then squeeze that glute of that leg to get it straight. And flex the foot and bring it back in. It's a lovely feeling when you achieve it. And then change legs, going again. And then bring in the heel in with flexed foot. And change legs. Extend that leg. And then flex the foot and come back in. One more each side in the parallel position. And come back in. And extend the other leg. And back in. We're going to repeat that with, this time we're going to lower gently that leg, that knee down to one side. But I want to keep my hips facing the ceiling. I don't want to sink that on my right hip, in my case, down to the floor. So I'm going to keep that glute squeezed on that side, that butt cheek. And then I'm going down and just allowing that leg to go along the outside of that foot. Squeezing the glute at the end, getting full rotation in the hip joint there at the top of the femur joint, and then sliding it back in, keeping that glute squeeze so I don't drop in the pelvis, and bring the knee back up. It's quite a bit to think about in such a simple exercise. And then slowly lower the other knee to the floor, squeezing the glute, standing the outside of that foot along the floor. Squeeze the glute to extend the leg fully, point that foot there. Really get a good old leg squeeze, and then just bring the whole thing back in on the outside of that foot, and bring that knee back up to the top. And again, other side, slowly lowering it, squeezing the glute, and the abdominals should still be on strong. If you lose it, just you can stop and reset, but the abdominals need to be focused the whole time. What we're doing, we're plumbing into the nervous system that when we're switched off and thinking about other things, we still want the nervous system operating those lower abdominals. We don't want it to forget about them. So there's a purpose to me reminding you about your lower abdominals, because that needs to become a bit of a habit, and we can only do that if we constantly cue the nervous system. What about the abdominals? What about the ribs? What about that glute? And then back up. And final time on that side. This one, the last one. And sliding that leg back in. And then we can relax and take that ball away. I'm going to get you to grab your foam rollers now. Or you can do this on your ball as well. So you can have that ball. If you haven't got a foam roller, you can leave that ball under your pelvis. We're going into Zen minute. Minutes. I would normally do it on the ball, but I just find that height gives you that extra stretch at the front of the hip that I'm after. And this is kind of really counteracts if you're sitting. I'm bringing that foam roller. Sorry, I'm doing this. I'm not talking. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm bringing that foam roller under the pelvis, much like I did the ball. I'm going to bring the knees over the chin, and then you can just hang on to either the ball, the foam roller here or at the ends. If you're on a ball, no different to what we'd normally do. It just gives you a bit of extra height, that's all. So if we're sitting all day, this exercise really counteracts that. Like last night, I was typing that email till really late, and I've curled myself in on the sofa too much, and my hips were killing me when I stood up. And this is the one that can release that. So from here, we're going to stand one leg up to the ceiling. The other knee's just relaxed over towards your chest. And then we're going to exhale as we lower that leg. But as we lower that leg, imagine you've still got that ball in your tummy. You're using that abdominal really fully engaged, and that glute is squeezed of that outstretched leg as well. As you lower it down as low as you can without tilting the pelvis over the foam roller, to keep that spine in that perfect drawbridge straightness. When you can't go any further, then keep that thigh where it is. It's really common that people lift that thigh up to bend the knee, but I want you to leave the thigh low. Keep pressing the thigh down as you bend that knee. And then draw an imaginary line into your sit bone. Then you'll get your maximum stretch out of it. And then unfold again and flex the foot. Send that heel up to the ceiling. So yeah, a mighty hamstring stretch here, even though I've just done down dog. And I know why, that's that sitting on the sofa for too long. Extend that leg. Keep pulling the abdominals in. So if you've got that ball there, just imagine that ball is still there. And then squeezing the glute as well, so that leg is protected all the way down. Leave the thigh where it is. Keep pressing the thigh down towards the floor as you allow the lower leg to flop. And then bring that foot into your sit bone. We're going to do that a little bit faster. 3 lovely flowing ones now. Got the technique. It's just trying to get that a little bit faster if we can. And one more. And extend. Abdominals, glutes, legs. Sometimes I think I need to shut up and just let you try and do it. And then bring that knee over your chest and extend the other leg. And I'm going to flex that foot up to the ceiling so the heel is really leading. And then again, lengthening that leg away from me. It's like someone is actually pulling it. Get that feeling that somebody is pulling your knee towards your chest. In fact, you can do that if you want to increase that kind of scissor movement. and then somebody is pulling your leg away from you, then squeeze that glute, that butt cheek of that leg that's over the foam roller. Abs are on strong. Press the thigh down as you let the lower leg flop and relax the foot to the floor, and then bring it back in. So then hopefully you've captured that feeling that I've been trying to get, and then lengthen that leg away. You have to do all those things. Really, that keeping that thigh pressing down as you bend the leg, and the glute squeezed, and the tummy on. All of those things have to come together for you to get that maximum effect. I'm going to just go a little bit faster now with a few more. And extend in your anto, and flex. It's a lovely stretch, this really equally lovely stretch, nice and controlled. And the leg stays parallel, marvelous, fabulous. And then from here, again, you can do this on a ball. We're going to bring one leg up to the ceiling and lead with the heel, toes towards your face, leg parallel. Other one comes up to join it, but then I'm going to let that other one go low to the floor as we just have done. But I'm going to bring the top leg that's up to the ceiling towards my face and then point the feet. So we're at our start position. Inhale, bring the legs together, going to pass each other, exhale and switch. Inhale, switch. So we're scissors. And switch. And switch. And switch. 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 Oh, tight on that side. And switch slowly. Good. And switch. And then bring the legs up to the ceiling. And we're just going to pop that foam roller underneath. Now, if you're on a ball, you're going to need to come off here onto a flat surface. But if you're not on a ball, can you grab your ball? I'm hoping it's near you. Really hoping it's near you. And place the ball between your ankles. And then press your legs back up to the ceiling and point your feet. And from here, I'm going to need those abdominals on strong. I'm moving into my abdominal section. Really abdominals on strong here. Holding on to your foam roller, but if you're flat on the floor, that's fine too. Backs of your hands would be on the floor, your palms to the ceiling. Now I'm just going to rotate the ball like this, so that I look like a compass. And then I'm going to do the same the other way. So you're just managing that ball here. Up at 90 degrees to start with. Lovely. So we're just, every now and again you might need to just adjust the ball. It might threaten to pop out and ping itself across the room. Let's get a little bit of bending and stretching. We get a little bit of leg press, so we get a little bit of ball practice here. So we're used to the ball being between the ankles, and we're just manipulating that ball a little bit. Lovely. One more, and leg press up to the ceiling. Point the toes again. A little bit more wiggy. Looks just like a compass. And then if you can, we're going to just gently move the legs down, lowering both legs as we maneuver the ball. A bit of fun. I've lost my ball. Bear with, keep going. I could feel it going. Cocky move. Right. Ball is back. So I'm just manipulating that ball. Do you spot my deliberate mistake? That's how not to do it. And then lengthening the legs as you lower. But I'm only going as low as I can go, that I'm not arching in that back. So your abdominals have to be strong for this one. And then come back up to the ceiling. I'm going to need to replace that because that's not playing ball this morning. And then going again, walking the ball, maneuvering it round, lowering both legs, going as low as you can safely go, that your abdominals and your glutes being squeezed and on can hold you. Don't try and go too low because you'll arch your back, and I don't want you to do that. And then coming back up. Inhale, exhale one more time. Only go as low as you can go. And then come back up. And exhaling with every rotation of that ball. It's threatening to fall out again. And coming back up. Oh, it's quite strong. And then bend the knees in. and take the ball out. We can lose the foam roller. That's a lovely exercise for abdominals. It's fabulous. Lovely. And then we're going to come up to sitting and grab your band for me. Let's place that out of the way because that's going to be in my way. I don't know if I need my ball again. Surprise myself what I do need and what I don't need. Band underneath your feet. Lovely, and sitting up nice and tall. Shoulders back and up. Inhale as you exhale, I'm going to pull back. Now I'm not rounding the shoulders forward. Let me go away from my yucca plant. I'm keeping the spine straight and the shoulders back and down. That curve is coming into my tummy. It's called the C curve in Pilates. It's like a letter C, that's typically that. And I'm flexing my heels off the floor, pressing my calf muscles, which are really engaged against the mat, and just coming off my sit bones here. And I'm finding that kind of biting point, keeping my neck in line with my spine, where I am really on my abdominals, really on it there. And then from here, I'm exhaling, and I'm just bringing the elbows back in line with my shoulders, and then bringing them forward towards my feet. Exhale as I come back. Inhale as I extend. Now you can do this with your heels on the ground and your knees slightly bent. So if that is easier, by all means do that. But if you want that additional challenge, we'll stay in this half cock position. But your abdominals must be on strong. And I'm bringing those elbows back in line with my shoulders and forward and back and forward. Exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, curling back up. And then when the shoulders are over the hips, then I'm going to restack that spine. I'm going to go back and we're going to get into that position again. By all means, if you need to, have your legs bent. I'm going to exhale and come back into that. Off your sit bones, find your biting point, shoulders are back and down. Tummy scoot flat, ribs in. And bringing the elbows back. Let me do it with this for bent knees. Bringing the elbows back into our row position here. From here, inhale, exhale. I'm going to rotate that elbow back behind me and bring the other arm forward in a cross punch. Inhale through the center. Exhale, changing side. Leaving those feet level and the shoulders back and down. Inhale, the shoulders aren't coming forward or raising or anything. Difficult to talk in this one. Exhale. All in the tummy. Keep that tummy scooping flat. One more. Bit faster. 3 and 2 and 1. And then coming up when the shoulders are over the hips. Restacking that spine. A bit ambitious to stay with straight legs throughout. Fabulous. We're going to do one more in that series. Inhale, exhale, come off the sit bones, shoulders back and down, scooping the tummy flat, imagine that ball in your tummy. And then from here, we're going to bring the arms out wide. Have your palms to the ceiling, and then we're just going to rotate one band, you won't going to go far, and then back to the center. Pull that band out to the side, and in. Exhale, and open. It's really difficult. And in, you've got your palm to the ceiling. Exhale, and in. 2 more. Exhale, and in. It's a really difficult one, this one. Exhale, it works the side of the obliques, oddly, it's really weird. And then curling up your shoulders over your hips. And then we can restack that spine. And we go down into a roll down now. Sitting up nice and tall. Putting the tummy in, and we're curling down. Now, I'm going to use the band, but I'm not going to depend on it. I'm pressing those heels and just, if anything, reaching my hands towards my feet as I press my calves into the floor, really flexing my toes, peeling my toes back towards my face. And then suddenly, we're down. Now, if you can't get all the way down, go as low as you can, and then come back up again. Peeling through, pressing those calves down into the floor. That was tricky. I need to do this a bit more because that's got harder again. And then restacking that spine. Going again. Exhale, curling down. Think about those toes. Peel the toes back towards the face. Press the calves into that mat. Leave your fingers towards your ankles. Reach your fingers to your ankles, which focuses your upper body into a control position. As you get there, inhale, exhale, reach the fingers for the feet. Curling up, curling up, lovely. Didn't use the band, or barely used the band at all. And then when the shoulders are over the hips, we're restacking that spine. I'm then wanting to do my knee rolls for my hips. So we're going to take the band off for a minute and just break that pattern up slightly, because I do want to do this one today. It's a really nice one for the hips. I'm sitting with my feet either side of the mat, and we know this little ballet routine that we have with this. I'm just going to place my hands down, not putting too much weight onto it. I'm just going to roll that knee in. So I'm rotating that pelvis in and out, very gentle, just going with the movement that you've got available. Don't force anything. And back. Roll that pelvis in and back. No, it's just getting some WD-40 into that hip joint. Lovely. Couple more, so one in this direction, and then on this next one, I'm going to turn it into the swastika. I know a lot of people have a lot of trouble with this one. A bit sticky in the hips, particularly one side, so I'm just using the edge of my mat as my marker for my shin to be parallel against. I've got that heel not right tucked under my bottom, but it's quite close. It's quite close to my sit bone there. And then the trick is, can we then work to get both hips sitting on the floor? So this is lifted. Now I'm going to bring that hip so that both my tailbones are on the floor. And then I'm just going to lift it forward again. So I'm now facing, because I've lifted it forward, I'm now facing over that bent knee in that diagonal, and then coming back down, just working that hip joint, getting it loosened up, freed up. Really nice if you're just sitting all day, just to work that joint, get the oil back into it. And then staying now over that hip with that glute squeezed now. So place that hand down. I'm going to squeeze that glute. So I'm getting a little bit of stretch now in the front of that hip, like we did when we did Zen minute. I'm going to place the back of the hand in front of that knee and get a lovely bit of spine rotation. Shoulder nice and down. I'm just on my fingers here because I've got tiny little arms and my hands don't reach the floor. But if you're lucky enough that your hands reach the floor, you can have a flat hand. Lovely. I'm going to move straight on and straighten out that back leg, still facing this way. And I'm just going to bring that heel of the foot through under the pubic bone, not sitting on it, it's in front, it's out in front of me. This is pigeon pose in yoga. A lot of people do yoga will know it. And the hands can be flat here. Now, if you sit on this butt cheek here, you won't feel the stretch that I want you to. So I'm wanting this hip here that's near to your heel to come parallel to the mat now, pulling the abdominals in while you're still sitting on the floor. I know that sounds strange. So you've still got your sort of glute cheek sitting on the floor, if you like, but you're bringing this hip forward, so it's as if it's trying to touch that heel in front of you, and you should feel a lovely glute stretch. I know I use the word lovely, but it really is because you're controlling this. You can stay here in this position if you're getting that stretch there. I do need to tidy this one up when we go into Washington Village because I had some interesting variations in the garden. Some of the birds were really laughing at us, especially the pigeons. And then exhaling as you extend now, lower. I'm going to go onto my forearms, but if you're happy with the stretch in the last position you were in, stay there by all means. But you can take that stretch as the glute eases off. And if you can't feel this, we'll sort this out on Friday in class or Wednesday night, whenever it is you're coming. And we're going to flatten that back there. And then we're going to come up. I'm going to immediately start bending into my swastika again, finding that back spine rotation, the back of my hand on that knee. I'm in a slightly different position, of course. Then I'm going to bring the body back through that same sequence. I'm going to use the abdominals to bring it round. I'm then going to sit the sit bone down. I'm in a completely different position. I'm off your mat as well. And unfold the legs. Gorgeous. And then we're going to go to the other side. So I'm going to have to turn that way around. So let's go the other side. Swastika. Drop that knee in to start with. Coming around into swastika. The leg is parallel with that mat. And then I've got that foot tucked in behind me, quite close, but not sitting on it, because I want to get that tailbone down, a little bit tighter this side, and then just lifting it back up, and then sending the tailbone down. Don't worry if it doesn't touch, that's normal, it's just a bit of tightness, particularly if there's a side that you might be more dominant on, then it will be more toned, and it can just be that. And exhale. If you've got a little bit of touch of arthritis in the hips, you will feel a little bit of stiffness here. We're just oiling this up nicely. On the next one after this, we're going to stay over that leg. I'm going to squeeze that butt cheek there so we get that lovely stretch. Back of the hand, tummy pulled in, ribs pulled in, back of the hand to the front of the thigh, and then get that gorgeous stretch. Rotation of that spine, it's beautiful. I'm going to keep that feeling going now as I extend that back leg, just tucking that heel in front of the pubic bone there, and I'm going to rotate this top hip towards that heel. Gosh, that is tight on this side. Good grief. I can't even sit on my mat. I can't get that butt cheek on the mat because I'm tight on that side like you would know. I think I've just worked out what my problem was when I was doing the scissors. So, but I am still attempting, in vain, but I'm still attempting to find that same position, bringing that hip to my heel, and I can't get my butt cheek on the floor. But that's a good thing because that's why we're doing it. I am going to attempt to get onto my forearms. If you want to do the same, just work within your comfort zone. So you should be feeling a stretch on that glute. The more you pull your body parallel over that bent knee, so that your hips are facing the mat in complete parallel, the more you'll feel that stretch. That is tight as you like. Yeah, I've definitely got some pelvic torsion. Lovely, and I'm not going to attempt to go into a flat back. I'm going to stop there because it is strong. And then I'm going to unravel. I'm going to bend the knee and swivel that shin back round. Come into my rotation position here, squeezing that back glute that belongs connecting to that hip. Then I'm going to use the abdominals to bring it all back to the center and drop that tailbone down. I'm going to unravel those legs, open up the pelvis. Fabulous. I love that. Absolutely love that. And then I'm just going to, where are we time-wise? Do you know, I'm just going to finish with a nice hip roll each side. So I'll face this way. Feet can be flat here. And your knees are together. Arms are going to be out to the side in your T shape. Go away, ball. Now I don't want you. You're there. Lovely. And then I'm going to gently have the feet flat first. Tummy is working the whole time. The tummy never lets up in this one because it's your support. Keep using the tummy to lower those legs to the floor. Now watch that top leg because it will want to shrink back like that. So the knees are no longer level. Keep those knees level because then you get your stretch. If you allow that top leg to shrink back, it's compensating. You're not going to get that stretch. I'm going to look back at the hand behind me as I slowly lower those knees to the floor. That top leg wants to keep shrinking back. It's a beast. And then the idea is we get that shoulder down, but don't worry if you can't, because we're going to do 3 deep in-breaths and out-breaths now. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. That shoulder down towards me. Just relax and flop. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. As you exhale, we're going to use the abdominals to bring the legs back through the center line. And then taking them straight down to the other side with the abs switched on, keeping those knees level. It's quite hard to do. And then arms are in a T shape, looking back at that hand. And then once you're as far as you can go, inhale. As you exhale, just flop. Relax those shoulders. And you'll find they'll just relax down for you. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Use the abdominals to bring that back. I'm going to do one more set each side. I'm going to bring my knees off the floor. And I'm going to cross my legs. Now, if you are quite happy to do it, if you want to stick with that last one, that's absolutely fine. But if you'd like a little bit of extra challenge, I'm going to cross the legs in the air. I've got my right over left, keeping those knees towards my chin. But otherwise, just repeat that last one again. And then I'm going to lower both legs, looking back at that hand, just as we did before. And then I'm going to extend that top leg and flex the foot. I'm using my abdominals to hold onto the leg underneath. It's a lovely stretch across the top of that, the outside of that leg. And then just cross the legs again. Use the abdominals, bring them back in. You're doing the last exercise that we just did if you're not doing this one. And then cross the leg over the other side. Exhale. And lower both legs down. Shoulders on the floor. I'm going to extend that leg. I think I'm going to kick my whiteboard, am I? No, I'm not. Good grip. And then I'm going to flex that foot. I can get right down on this side, so I've no need to hold it. And the abdominals, because my other side is so tight. Pulling them in. And then bending the legs so they're crossed again. Using my abdominals to protect my back, to bring my knees towards my chin. And come back to full center, unravel the legs. And then we can slowly come up through our roll up. Knees are underneath. Tuck your toes underneath you. Exhale as you come up. Now watch your weight is evenly spread through both feet as you uncurl. Abdominals, glutes switched on. Unravel. And then come up to standing. I've got that usual drag through head backwards look as I see in the mirror. I'm going to come and switch you. Ah, lovely. Thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed that actually.